people, it's Ashley, and this is Let's Talk Recovery Houston. We are back after taking a week off. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July. So today we're back in the office, and this is Bekah, and I've seen Bekah a lot at like Post Oak, and I know she's super active with the young people's meetings on Sundays, and I thought she would have a really great story to share. And so with that, I'm just going to go ahead and let Bekah take it over. Miss Bekah.
Okay.
Blue hair, she's so brave.
All right. Hi, I'm Bekah. I'm obviously an alcoholic. I had a pretty normal childhood. I was originally born in California, and then me and my parents moved here, and my siblings, when I was 3, and I've lived here ever since. And then my childhood was pretty normal. There was like some problems, but what family doesn't have problems, you know? And then when I was 12, I got diagnosed with depression. And I started taking medicine for it, and then not too long after that, I started deciding that alcohol made me feel better than the medicine did. And so I started drinking, and first it was just like every now and then. And then I started high school a couple years later after only drinking not very often. And then when I started high school, it got worse, and I started drinking more often. And then at 16, I decided that alcohol wasn't enough anymore, and so I decided to use drugs. And at first it wasn't that bad, but it got bad fast. I was using every day. I was a really good kid growing up, and so it was really weird to watch me use drugs. Like everyone didn't think that I was using drugs, and I started using every day, skipping school, which was not like me. And I had pretty codependent parents, enabling parents, so I just told them I have depression. That's why I'm skipping school. I didn't let them know I was using. And then I crashed my car while high, and nothing happened. The cops came, they didn't drug test me or sobriety test me, and nothing happened. And then it was like a continuous thing. I had just gotten my license that year, and I was using every day, and then I just kept crashing my car like once a month maybe. And then I didn't think I was an addict, but my parents decided to send me to rehab. And even though I didn't think I was an addict, I fell in love with recovery, and I just wanted to be sober. When I went to rehab, the first 2 weeks were like me fighting, not wanting to be there, and like saying I hate God and I don't want to be with God. And then the last 2 weeks I was there, because it was about a month program, I started realizing that like I love God, and I did want to be sober. And so that was right after my 17th birthday, and my first sobriety date was June 13th, 2017. And I really loved sobriety, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I went to this place called Archway Academy, which is the sober high school in Houston.
Which in August, Sasha is actually going to be on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah.
I love Sasha. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I'm so excited for that.
One of my coworkers went to Archway. His sister, Sarah,
Okay.
went to Archway.
Sarah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Archway, and I love Sasha, and I love how it's run. Love Archway. It like saved my life because I knew I was going to progress if I continued to stay out there, and because the disease is progressive, and so I really feel like it saved my life. Because I figured out I am an addict, and so I went to Archway and I did PDAP, the Palmer Drug Abuse Program, and I loved it, and I was like on the committee, and I was on student council at Archway, and I was really a leader in my senior year of high school. And then I met this guy, and he was a mess, and I continued to stay sober, and he continued to get high. We met in rehab, and then
Because those work out great.
mhm.
Next person in treatment, don't do that.
Right? Yeah. We met in rehab, and he would never stay sober, as I was doing good in high school, but we still stayed friends. And then my codependency got so bad that when he went to jail at about 8 months sober, I decided I didn't want to be on earth anymore, and I tried to kill myself at 8 months sober, and that was a really hard blow to my pride. And then he got out of jail, we started hanging out again, but I kept strong in my program. By the time we got out, I was like sponsoring other women, and I was doing really good. And then that whole summer I decided I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm more healthier without you. And then he went back to rehab, and I brought meetings to the Park Adolescent side. PDAP brings meetings to the Park Adolescent side, and I was going to meetings at the Park Adolescent side. Oh, by this time I was actually in Beyond Your Best Counseling. I switched alternative peer groups, and so I went to Beyond Your Best Counseling, BYBC, and I was junior staff there, and I started helping out there. And so I was taking meetings with the clients, and he was there at the park again for like the 5th time. And then my codependency struggle got bad again, and it just got really bad and really fast. And then I started college, and I didn't like college at all. But this was relapse mode. I was about to relapse. I didn't really like college. I skipped all the time. Which it doesn't really matter if you skip in college, but I just didn't go. Just didn't go to class. And I just didn't go to class, and I was like I hated college, and I didn't want to go, and so I was just like doing other things, and I was like, I just finished my steps, and completely, and then I decided that when I was in rehab, they told me you just need to stay sober a year, and if you don't like it, then you can get high. And that was like that was playing in my head. And so I had a year sober. I finished the steps. I was really struggling, and so I decided to relapse with that same guy that went to jail and all that. And at first it was just gonna smoke one, smoke one blunt, then I'll be okay. And I'm going to get sober tomorrow. That's what I decided. And that's not how it went.
I don't think that usually works.
Yeah,
out
that
well.
doesn't usually work. Because the phenomenon of craving hit, and I was on Xanax the next day. And, it was horrible. I had like this shame and guilt. I had just threw away 16 months of sobriety. And so I decided to not feel anything. And like they say, the disease is progressive. I had never used Xanax in my life. And then I decided, because I know Xanax helps you black out, I'm going to use Xanax. And I did black out. And then and then it just got worse and worse. And my parents ended up kicking me out. I obviously stopped going to college altogether. My parents ended up kicking me out, so me and Wyatt, the guy, lived out of my car together. And I was just bad. And we were like stealing and doing a lot of bad things. And I hated myself. We just continued living out of my car, and I accepted the fact that I was going to live out of my car and die probably. And because the disease is progressive, I was doing drugs I've never done before, doing things I've never done before. And so it just got bad really fast, and stopped going to work, stopped going to school, lived out of my car for a little bit, and then my parents wanted me to go to rehab again. And I was like, no, I don't think I need to go to rehab. And they were like, well, you can... they let me come home for a couple of days. And it was Thanksgiving. And they let me come home for Thanksgiving, and then I ended up overstaying. And then we were stealing from people in the neighborhood. And then there was like this comment on the Facebook neighborhood page. Stuff's getting stolen. There was like several stuff. There was several posts about I'm getting my stuff stolen. And my mom was like, is that you? Like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, Mom. I'm like not doing that kind of stuff. I'm not doing drugs like that. That would make me do that. And then I finally got caught. And they said we're either going to press charges or you can go to rehab. And so I was like, it's funny because I had to think about it. I was like, go to jail or go to rehab. And so I went to rehab. And my sobriety date today is December 2nd, 2018. And I went to rehab, and I fell back in love with the program. 3 days into rehab, I hated God. I was mad at my God, and I hated him, but I just got on my knees and started praying to something. And I knew the third step prayer, obviously, because I had been sober before. And so I just got on my knees and said the third step prayer. And I really feel like that's when I had my spiritual awakening, or spiritual experience. That wasn't like me. I didn't get on my knees to pray ever. And when I was little, like 5 and 6, but you know what I mean? But I'd never really gotten on my knees to pray, and I just got on my knees, said the third step prayer, and then did the rest of the program, got out of detox, did residential, and I went to the park again. I went to the park adult side this time, because obviously last time I went to the park adolescent side. So I've been to both sides of the park. And so I did the whole program, and then I got out, and I decided, and I was so angry when I got out because I did not want to go. It was around Christmas time, and my parents were going to Florida for Christmas, and I did not want to go with them. They were just going to drink in front of me, and I was not excited for it. And the very first day we were in Florida, they got this, like, pitcher of beer and was drinking, and it was weird because, like, even though I hadn't, that was another spiritual experience for me, because even though I hadn't worked the steps yet, I didn't want to drink that day. And they sent me, or we went to Florida, and it was fine. We had fun, and I still wasn't that healthy, so I would, like, steal my mom's car to go to AA meetings in Florida, and I would tell her when I got back, Mom, I took your car, and she'd be like, what the heck, Rebecca, what are you doing? You can't drive in Florida, you don't know these roads. And I was like, whatever. I got to a meeting, that's what I needed, and because I wanted to do 90 and 90. And so I went to a meeting every day in Florida, and that's the first time I really got a feel of AA, because I was always in an APG. I had been to AA meetings, but really just to, like, pick up chips. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really didn't go to AA like that. And I think that's why, a reason I relapsed is because I was stuck in, like, that alternative peer group world. And yeah, that was the first time I got a feel for AA, and, like, I, like, really loved it. And then I came back to Houston. I went straight to sober living at TRT, and I had toured the place before, and I toured the place when I was in rehab, and I liked it. And so I went, and I told my counselor there at the park that I was only going to go there for a month, and I ended up staying for 8 months, and I loved it. And I just did really good there. I, like, got a sponsor, worked my steps, and I just fell in love with this program. It took me 3 months to want to work the steps because I hated God, and I was scared because I was afraid they wouldn't work because they hadn't worked before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was just me who stopped working them, and so I started working the steps after 3 months of being miserable, 3 months sober. I picked up a sponsor, and I also, during that 3 months, I did the 1, 2, 3 shuffle. You know, work 1, 2, 3 with one person, next person, because I didn't want to do step 4 either with someone. I was so scared of that, so I did 1, 2, 3.
Like, I am not doing step 4. No way, no how.
So with, like, I had, like, 5 different sponsors when I first got sober, and then finally at 3 months sober, I got miserable enough, realized I needed that relief I get from step 5. I was like, okay, I'll work all 12 steps with this lady, and I did, and I knew I was powerless. I knew I had a higher power that would relieve me of the insanity. It wasn't God, though. I didn't want it to be God. I was angry at him. And then gave my life over to God, worked step 4 and 5, and did the most thorough 4-step I'd ever done. Because I had done 4 steps prior in my prior sobriety. But that was, like, the most honest and most thorough I could have ever done it. And, well, not ever, but I could be at that time in my sobriety, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did, like, a whole legal pad one time, so I'm getting everything.
And worked step 6, 7, made a couple amends, and then I started sponsoring other women, and I was so scared to sponsor. Oh, I didn't share this part of my story, but I got high with my sponsees when I was back out, 2 of them. So I was really scared to sponsor. I didn't want to get high again with my sponsees. I didn't. So I was really scared to sponsor. And then the first sponsee I picked up, she told me a whole bunch of, after she got high again, after she relapsed, she said a whole bunch of mean things to me. And so I really didn't want to sponsor anymore. I really was scared to sponsor. And then I went to go tell my story at the park on the adolescent side, and I picked up my first sponsee that I would take through all 12 steps. And that was amazing. And we just started working these steps. And then I started picking up her friends as sponsees. And so right around, I picked up 4 girls who are all connected somehow. A couple of them were in PADAP, a couple of them were in adolescent treatment centers or whatever. And I ended up taking 4 girls through the steps before I had a year sober. And that was a really cool experience. And then a week before I got a year sober, my sponsor relapsed. And I started feeling like the program doesn't work, and I really wanted to get high. And I was really angry at God. And I didn't really want to be sober anymore because I relapsed, my sponsor relapsed, the one person I didn't think would relapse. I kind of put her on a pedestal. And then she did. And I just felt like this program wasn't worth it anymore. Then I got a year sober a week later, and that made me feel better because all I wanted was to get past 16 months because I had 16 months prior.
Mm-hmm.
Now today I have 19 months sober, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, so I got that year, and I just started to do the next right thing. There was a week where I really was angry and sad and wanted to get high. But then a week later, I picked up a sponsor, and then we did 1, 2, 3. I was back on my bullshit. We did 1, 2, 3, and then I got a new sponsor. We did 1, 2, 3, and then I was like, I don't know if I can work. I don't know if I can do this. And I felt like I was good. I was friends with her before, and so I just wanted to keep the friendship. And so I picked up a new sponsor, and my old sponsor made me get involved in Hacky Paw, made me get involved in service work. I was sponsoring another woman, and she was like, you need more service. And so I got on Hacky Paw.
Because you're really involved in that, right?
Yeah.
You're very much involved in the cause.
Yes. And so I picked up a service commitment at my home group, and then I picked up a service commitment on Hacky Paw. And at first I became small. I started small, but then, which is prayer chair, which just means you start and end the meeting with a prayer. And then I became outreach chair, so I started traveling to other places and started outreaching. I went to Louisiana and Missouri, and it was just so much fun being outreach chair. And and I just started getting really involved. The unity aspect of being on a committee is really awesome. And I became events chair at Post Oak Young People, and I started planning events, and it was cool because my old sponsor was events chair for Hacky Paw, so we started planning events together. and postdoc young people is still my home group today. And now today I'm the chairperson of like the whole meeting, which is cool. I had always wanted that since I like started going to group conscious. I always wanted to be the chairperson and run the meeting. And today I'm that. And so yeah, I picked up a new sponsor, and right around my year sober, and I fell back in love with the program again, because I kind of fell out of it, and I just started working the steps, and it was like a completely different way than I did before, and it was again another thorough, honest 4-step, and that 5th step really saved me. And so
I swear people cheat themselves when they don't do a good 4-step.
right, yeah.
Like, I was working with someone, bless her heart, when we were doing her thing, and I was like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
I'm like, please, just do it.
I have a couple
'cause
sponsees
this is
right
not,
now.
I'm like, this is, I don't even know what this is, but like.
Yeah, like,
Please,
it's like
just
so
do it.
worth it. It's so worth it to do
Yeah.
a good 5th step.
I'm like, it really will. It makes you feel better. Like,
Yeah.
so many people are scared of their 4-step.
Yeah. I actually have a couple sponsees right now who are struggling on their 4-step, and I'm like, dude, just like get it all out there,
Yeah.
like, so we can give it to God and get some relief, you know. And then, you know, like they all get. I've been getting like several phone calls from my sponsees, like, I hate this 4-step. I want to get high, and I'm like, I know. If you just get this done, we'll get to the 5th step and get some relief. Come on,
Just do it.
So, let's see. I started working the steps, did a thorough 5th step, and then 1, 2, 3 was easy. 3 is harder to live than to say for me. Like, I can say the 3rd step every day, all day, but I have to live that. Then we did step 6 and 7, and when she was doing my 5th step, she wrote down 66 character defects of mine, and I had to pray the 7th step prayer and include the character defect in it, and that really opened my eyes. And then at the end, I changed them into assets. And then the amends this time were way different, and I didn't make very many amends when I worked the steps the first time, but this time I made all the amends I could, and I'm like still in the process of making amends today, and the amends were like really awesome. Like, I made amends to my mom, and they were really cool. And I made amends to my little brother, who's 18 and also in recovery, and he actually lives at TRT right now.
Oh, really? That's what's up.
And so that was really awesome. And then making amends to my sponsee that I got high with was super beautiful. She was really angry at me when I got sober, because I didn't want to talk to her at the moment because it wasn't good for my sobriety. So she was really angry with me, and she said a whole bunch of mean things to me. And then, so making amends about a year later, after all that went down, was really beautiful. And now we still talk, and she still, even though she uses, she still calls me like I'm her sponsor almost, like, Becca, I'm going through this, like, I need help, like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. just figure it out, you got it. And I tell everyone to pray. So yeah, she still calls me today, and we have a good friendship today. And I just learned how to not be so enabling, codependent, and stuff like that. And so now I can be friends with these people, you know what I mean? I really have struggled with codependency like my whole life. And that's what made me be such a good sponsor this time, is because I learned from my mistakes and learned that I don't have to be that way. And so yeah, I made amends to my sponsee, and that was really beautiful. And then I worked 10, 11, got really close to God. Then I got back on step 12 and continued to be of service and picked up more sponsees and just continued to do what I was supposed to do. And I love my sponsor today. She's awesome. And we'll like talk for hours on the phone. I just love her. And I still talk with my old sponsor today. I love her just the same, and she's doing good. She's still sober. She just had like a couple day relapse, and she's still sober today, and we're in the same lineage, which is cool. We're still in the same lineage. Like, her grand sponsor is my sponsor, and then her sponsor is my sponsee's sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're still doing the same thing. And she's like one of my best friends today, Bekah. Her name's Bekah as well. And I love her, and I still look up to her. And let's see what else.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I like to ask people that are involved in the young people's meetings. Okay, so what would you say to the naysayers, right? To maybe the old timers that don't necessarily think young people like been through enough stuff, or like hit their bottom, or they're not really sober, right? It's just a bunch of young people getting together on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because I know you've had to hear some of that stuff.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So what do you say to those people?
I just pretty much say, like, I didn't have to hit rock bottom. I digged my bottom just enough, and I'm still an addict and alcoholic, because it just says in the big book, to be an addict and alcoholic, you have to have no control and no choice but to drink, and no control when you drink. And I definitely have both of those things. And my life was unmanageable, and I am powerless. And I just kind of give like them a step one rundown. Like, I'm literally just the same. I just didn't have to. I did lose my family, but I didn't like lose my house because I didn't have one, or like whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it just looks different for me.
That's good. Well, because I think I kept using for a long time, because you, like, before, maybe not so much here in Houston, but it was like you almost had to hit certain criteria, right, to be an alcoholic. So I was like super young, because I was in my first treatment center at 14, so I'm like super young, like not even 21, maybe trying to somewhat be sober, sitting in meetings with like older people that had like lost their house and their job, and like would wake up drinking, and it was like, oh, I don't do any of those things. Maybe I'm not an alcoholic, right? Knowing damn well I'm like an alcoholic. So I don't know. It's just, I think it's cool that like we don't all have to have the same bottom, right? Like what got me to finally stop using could be different, like for me than you.
Right.
I just think it's funny. So I have he's 17 now. And we used to take him to the young people's meetings when he first moved to Houston, because he's an addict. And so he'd be in the meetings. He is. I mean, Aiden's an addict, bless his heart. He'd be in the meetings on Sundays, and he'd be like, all these people are sober. And I'm like, yes, all these people are sober. And he's like, but some of them are like my age. He's like, they're really sober? And I'm like, yes, they're really sober. I'm like, get a big book and read the damn book. And I guess for him, because I don't know, like he hasn't been to a lot of meetings and stuff, but like he's dealt with my shenanigans for a long time. But I don't think he really understands that, like, dude, you really can't get sober.
Yeah.
Like, really young, I threatened to send him to Archway all the time. Working out very well. So, what's been your favorite thing about recovery this time?
Sponsorship, for
Sponsorship?
For sure. Because the farthest I had ever gotten anyone before was step 8, and all my sponsees either dropped, because I was in relapse mode, they either dropped me or I dropped them. And now I've taken girls through all 12 steps, and I like my type of sponsorship. I think I'm a good sponsor. And so sponsorship definitely has changed me, and I love sponsoring other girls. I have 3 in the book right now. So.
Do you think it helped you this time? Because before you were at the park and then you went to Archway. I'm assuming you were living at home while going to Archway, so that's what was. So do you think the going to TRT for 8 months is what kind of helped you get a good foundation back on your recovery this time? Like being in a sober living environment for so long instead of just going from treatment to your house?
Yes, because I don't want to knock my parents or anything, but they know how to drink. And so living with them, I feel would have been hard for me if I didn't go to sober living. I don't know if I would have stayed sober. And so, yeah, and I love living with my parents today. I've been relieved of the obsession to drink, and so I can live with them. I can watch my dad drink a whole bottle of Jim Beam and not want to drink, you know what I mean? And so the obsession has been lifted, so I'm okay living with them today. It's
better.
Yeah, it's better.
And your brother, he's a TRT. Is that hard, having a sibling that's in the program? I have a family member that's in the program, and she drives me absolutely crazy sometimes.
He does drive me absolutely crazy.
I just want to
right now, he won't work the steps. I'm work the steps. Come on. And it's funny, we used together, got sober together, and then relapsed at different times. And so we were really close, and then when we relapsed at different times, we obviously drifted apart. When I was sober, he wasn't. We drifted apart, and when I was sober and he wasn't, either way we drifted apart. Right. And it was a strain on our relationship. And now today we're both sober, and we have a pretty good relationship today. And I go visit him at TRT. I still go to TRT every week. I've always gone to TRT every week since I got sober, at least once a week.
Because I have meetings, Tuesdays?
And Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see
Shout
him
out to Tony, who's been bugging me for a long time for these meetings. I'll have to make it to one of those one of these days.
Love Tony.
Yeah, he's great. So what would you... Oh, here's a good one. Zoom meetings, right? I know Post-Oak is finally back up. Was it hard, or do you think it's hard for people that have been having to, just do Zoom meetings during COVID?
Yes,
Because I don't like them. I'm not a big fan of Zoom anything.
I go on Zoom meetings every day. I'm very active, not only in Post-Oak Club, but I host 12:15 every day. And so I personally like Zoom meetings. It's not that I like them. It's I feel I have to go. Maybe I do like them, yeah. And so, but if I had to get sober like that, if I was
yeah, you're new and you cannot go physically to a building and you have to log on to Zoom.
I don't know if I could have stayed sober through that. Maybe. Trust God and just get through it, but what if you don't like Zoom meetings?
Right, yeah.
How are you?
I just think they're weird. I don't know. Because I really like the fellowship at meetings.
Yeah, me too.
and you just don't really have that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like just getting to hang out, like have coffee, or like you don't really have that when you're
Right.
on your phone or your computer.
Yeah, it's just like there is like a meeting before the meeting, but it's not really a meeting before the meeting. Like we all talk, but it's not like it just doesn't feel like
It's
as
not-
real.
yeah. So what's going on with okay, so say you're a young person, and you've been going to Post Oak. Like, how do they get involved with like committees and stuff, right? Because there's the young people in AA, then there's the Hacky Paw,
Mm-hmm.
right, and then Icky Paw, right? It's like 3 different things, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the difference between those 3 things?
So at
Because I
Post
always tease and I'm just like, just the paw things, right?
So there's a couple YPAW meetings in Houston, which is just young people in AA meetings.
Okay.
And then at the meetings, we announce if you want to be part of Hacky Paw, come to our Hacky Paw meeting. And then Hacky Paw is a conference we're putting on.
Okay. Which got canceled because of COVID. Is that
So
what
it'll
was
be
supposed
happening
to?
next year.
Okay.
And like I'm still involved in Hacky Paw, and we got all new positions. So right now I'm the program chair, which means I'm putting together the program for the actual conference, which I'm excited.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Are there age requirements to be involved in this stuff?
No.
Because it's like young people. So is there like
No, like we have like a
cut off at 35? Because somebody told me that, and I was like, oh, I'm 36, so okay.
yeah. I've actually heard like YPAW is like adolescent to 35, but we have 50, 60-year-olds come into YPAW sometimes. Like it doesn't really matter how old you are.
Okay.
And like we even had, it's funny because we had a 16-year-old on Hacky Paw, and then we had a like 40-year-old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really matter.
Okay. So you would probably recommend to young people to get involved in like the committees
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuff, right? For sure.
Yes, because that helped me immensely. Like
And you guys do fun stuff like Slumber Falls, right? You
Yeah.
guys were like going to Louisiana.
Right,
and
Louisiana,
stuff.
Summer Falls, we do a lot of fun stuff. And it's really got me involved and makes me not want to leave, you know what I mean? Like, makes me want to
There was a
stay.
dance at Post Oak I went to. It was quite entertaining.
Which one?
The last one you guys had before COVID. It was at the new Post Oak building. It was
Was it?
It was maybe like November, December. It was in November.
November,
Mhm.
the Friendsgiving. Yeah, me
Yeah.
me and Becca put that on. Yeah.
Yeah, I went up there with Aubrey, my 10-year-old. And she was like, wow. She's like, all these people are sober? I'm like, yes. So, let's see. What has been the hardest part of recovery for you?
Probably because of my codependency when other people relapse.
That's hard. I
Yeah.
have a hard time with that too.
Yeah, so like I told you, I took 4 sponsees through all 12 steps. Well, 2 of them just relapsed recently, and I took it really hard. So yeah, I really struggle with when other people relapse. I feel like it's my responsibility to save them and stuff like that.
And that's hard. Like, I have a friend that's, he's super excited because he's going to get to start sponsoring people. And I was like, don't get in your feelings when, like, they stop returning your phone call. Like, because I wish somebody would told me that.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody did. So I was like, if they relapse or, like, whatever, I'm like, just find another one. Like, don't take it personal.
And that's what happened. Like
It's
I
hard.
lost 2 sponsees, but I gained 2 new ones. You know what I mean? I just got new sponsees, and I was okay, you know?
That's awesome. Okay, let's see. Where do you see yourself in a month from now? Or 3 months, or 6 months, or a year?
A month from now, doing the same thing. But
Same
a
thing.
year from now, I see myself back in college, still sponsoring. And like in 6 months, God willing, I'll have a 2 years sober. And at 2 years sober, I want to get my recovery support. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know why I don't know what it's called.
Like a recovery coach.
Recovery coach certificate, yeah.
Certificate.
So yeah, that's what I want to do. At 2 years sober, you can do that, and that's what I want to. I might want to go back to college for that, but I don't know. But I know I can be a recovery coach at 2 years sober, and so I want to go to the training for that and start finding where I can go help others that way. And so yeah, that's where I see myself. I definitely.
That'd be cool if you could be a recovery coach and get all your hours and go work at like Archway.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would be cool. Sasha, wink, wink. So where do you think you'd be now had you not started this journey? Like if you had not made the decision, if you had been like, you know what, send me to jail, whatever. I'm not going to go back to rehab. I'll just go to jail for theft or whatever you were doing, you rebel. What do you think life would be like?
I'd probably be dead or in jail, just like it says in the big book, jails, institutions, or death. I'd probably be either dead because of all the things I mixed together, and or in prison. Like, oh, I didn't say this, but like Wyatt, the guy I was always in love with, is in prison now. After I got sober, he was planning on getting sober. He didn't. 2 months later, to jail, and now he's in prison for 8 years. So I feel like I would be in prison because I would have been right there with him, doing the same thing I did 2 months later if I stayed out there.
Yeah, that's how. So me and my ex-husband, we were together. We met in rehab. We were together for 7 years, and we were like using buddies. Like we could not. I think the longest out of those 7 years we ever got sober was a year. And went out and relapsed before birthday night. Like hit our year date, but we're high by birthday night. Which was crazy. And still, so we have not been together for 2 years. I've been sober, and he's still doing the exact same stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's still using and going to jail, and do not hook up with people in rehab. Seriously, it's a terrible idea. So what's life like with your family now? Good, because you live at home.
Yeah.
Did it take a long time before they trusted you to not rob your neighbors?
No, because they're enabling and codependent. They gave me both times I got out of rehab, they gave me my car back right away, and
I bet your insurance is really high, huh?
Yep. It is. And oh my God, it's so high. And they gave me my car right back, and yeah, they trust me, and we have a good relationship today. Like I used to struggle really bad with my relationship with my dad, but today we don't have any issues. And I also work for them. My dad owns a pest control company, so I'm a secretary in the office. And I also work for them, and we also have a good work relationship as well. I show up as a good daughter, and I show up as a good employee today.
That's good. So any advice? Say there's somebody out there that's like really struggling with either getting sober, or maybe they've been sober and they're like, they're doing that whole teeter thing, right? That we do, like, I don't want to be sober. Or I'm real good at, hey, I can get high this one time on a Friday and be fine. And then I stay high for 6 months. So what advice would you give to those people? Do you have any advice?
Work the steps.
Yeah?
Don't get high, work the
Don't
steps.
get high. Don't get high. Go to a meeting. Post Oak is open. I don't know about Spring Branch, but Post Oak is open. You want to give any shout outs to anybody? You did good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No.
No? You sure? Because I have people later, they're like, oh, dang, I should have said something about my mom or something. No shout outs?
Nope.
No?
Thanks to my sponsors that I've had these past 19 months, they saved my life.
That's awesome. I think did you get your year chip at Post Oak?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I was there for them.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
In December.
Yeah, I was there.
I think it was New Year's Eve. No, maybe not. It was like right before New Year's. So.
Yeah, I think I was there. So this was really awesome. Thank you for driving so far. I did not know you lived way in Baytown. It's crazy. So shout out to a couple people, Transformations, for letting me use their office space on the weekends. And you can find Bekah's story on Facebook. Are we Facebook? YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Google Podcasts.
Want to do that again?
It's much, maybe, yeah. It's so much. I was going to say Instagram, but... Okay, so you can check out Bekah's story on the Facebook page, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts if you are an Android user. Like and share. And if you need help or you know someone that needs help, you can always call the phone number that's listed on my Facebook page to get connected to resources. And with that, have a great rest of your weekend, people. Bye.